And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hi folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Monstrite. I was very excited when I saw Monstrite. It was made by Giochi, and they make some interesting Euro games, and this was a Euro game with a fun theme. You are scientists making these monsters, and these monsters are going to be working in factories, or you're turning them into food. I'm not really sure what you're doing with all the monsters. But at the end, suddenly you decide to take over the world, and the monsters all fight each other in big battles. That sounds cool. When I opened it up, I realized, oh, it's a game where you change things into other things, change these into this thing for the first half of the game. Then the second half is kind of an auction-style game. It sounds a little bit, discordant there between those two halves, but hey, let's give it a whirl. The game is set in two phases. In the first one, you're going to produce and sell monsters, and then in the second phase, you're going to be using these monsters and doing some final battle with the monsters. So during the first phase, players have 5 different actions that they can do, and they can do the same action twice if they want to. So the different actions that you can do is you can add a new machine to the piles here. So you'll draw a new machine, and these machines will show something like, for example, a green monster chip will change into 2 yellows and 2 blues. So when you place a new machine, you'll place it on the board. If they're all full, all the machines, then you cover one up, but you can't cover these machines up. These are starting machines. You'll also add some energy to this machine, and you'll score 2 points for adding a machine to the board. Another thing you can do is you can use a machine. So to use a machine, players are going to start with some of these different chips that they have, the different monster chips. There's red, yellow, and blue small chips. And of the larger chips, there's first some like secondary colors. There's the green, purple, and orange, and then there's black and white. These are the most rare ones. So you just will spend an energy, using up an energy token on a machine, which means if a machine has no energy, you can't use it. And then you just do it. So here I would trade in a blue and a red and take a purple token here. A player can add more energy to an entire row or column by putting 1 energy on each thing in that row. You can't have more than 2 though, and if you do that, you get 1 victory point. You can also just take the bag here and reach into the bag and draw 2 of the basic monstrites. So lo and behold, I got a red and a blue. And then finally, you can sell monsters. There are 3 places to sell monsters. So when you sell a monster, you need to have the chips it shows. So this one requires 2 orange and 1 black. This one requires 4 green or 4 oranges or 4 purples, 3 green, 3 oranges, and 3 purples. You'll pay those resources, and then you'll move your disc up 1 on that corresponding track. This will continue until one person pulls the last chip from the bag, or we're out of one of the colors over here, or the last contract of a pile has been completed. At that point, we go into the second phase of the game, where it's time to basically fight. First, players are going to gather their monsters. They're going to look at how far they up on each of these tracks, and they're going to take tokens equal to how far they are up on the track, starting with the person who's the farthest, and put those behind their screens in preparation for the upcoming battles. So there's going to be 5 battles. You'll fight one first. You'll see the next one that's coming. And players are going to bid the tokens from behind their screen and revealing them. And then you can bid again and add more. And each token is going to be worth a certain amount of strength points. Whoever gets the highest will get this many victory points. The second highest will get that many victory points. As the game goes by, whenever you produce monsters, you will get victory points from using these cards, and sometimes you'll get nasty trick cards, which will let you do things like, for example, this makes green and oranges more powerful. This switches the strength of orange and black. This gives you 5 points if you win that battle. And so they'll change this. Some of these just give you an extra strength total to a battle. So those can be played during this phase 2. You're going to do this 5 times. After the 5th battle, you'll take all the victory points you've got from battles, plus any that you've got over the course of the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. On a positive side, I like the artwork, and I like the way the machines look, even if every single machine looks exactly the same, but at least that looks neat. And then these different cards, yeah, they all look the same too, just with different symbols on them. These chips, I know they were probably saying, hey, let's not use cubes, and I get that, but these are very poor quality chips, and the player tokens are these really bad quality tiddlywinks, which have to be stacked on each other at the beginning of the game. The board itself is a little confusing to see. The bag is okay, the shields are okay. Honestly, these are subpar components. For such a fun, interesting theme, they really cut corners on production costs, and you can tell. Monstrite is a truly bad game. You know, sometimes I talk about games, and you'll see some reviews this week even, about games that I don't like, but I can see why people do like them. I don't get this one at all. This is a cube pusher, right, where you're changing red and yellow into orange, and then you change orange into 2 reds and a yellow, then you change red and a yellow back into orange again, and then you change in 2 oranges and a pink into a black, and okay, fine. So I get that there's these machines. That sounds interesting to some degree. But that first part of the game, we'll talk about the 2 halves of the game in a second, but just talk about the first part, very problematic. You need resources pretty badly in the first half of the game. You need to run these machines. Sometimes the right machines aren't out there. You can add a machine and get 2 victory points. Woo! You can add an energy to all the machines and get 1 victory point, even less, woo, because you're kind of setting it up for other players, and that's not fun at all. Both those actions are not that interesting, especially when you add a machine. You're literally just randomly adding a machine and hoping it's one you need in the future. Boo to that. But then that coupled with the fact that you're pulling these chips from the bag, because that's a great way to get resources. Why should I run a machine when I can just take 2 resources from the bag and finally get the ones I need? The problem is that will end the game pretty quickly. The first half of the game. The first half of the game can end really quickly if a couple players just decide to pull chips from a bag, which is broken, actually. It's mind-numbing how easy, especially in a 4-player game, and it goes up to 5. I haven't even played it with 5. With 5, I can't even imagine how fast the chips run out. And the first half of the game is over in a blink, and some people might not even have built any monsters or done anything. That doesn't make any sense at all. Then we have that second half, which is like a jarring record screech to a halt. And the second half is now we're blind bidding on different things and the amounts that you bid. So, well, I know Bob took some oranges, and oranges are worth 3. Blacks are worth 4, though, so I'll bid a couple blacks. And then Bob plays a card that switches the values of oranges and blacks. It's like this random crazy take that mixed with blind bidding. It's like they sat down and said, let's pick a bunch of mechanisms that some people are very vocally opposed to. Because I like blind bidding, but a lot of people don't. I don't really like take that much. Some people do. I don't really like moving cubes around. Who thought it was a good idea to put all these in a game? And then on top of that, they're like, hey, let's make the production suck while we're at it. And that's crazy. That's just a whole bunch of badness in one game. The game has a very variable player length. You don't know when it's going to be over. The rules aren't the best written in the world. It has take-that games mixed with a Euro move cubes around. Has boring actions that you can take. No, bad game. Avoid at all costs. Dice Tower Judgment, it's just a mess of a game.